ഇസ്രായേൽ സൗത്ത് ഇന്ത്യ കോൺസൽ ജനറൽ വീണ്ടും ജനം ടി വിയുടെ അതിഥിയായി എത്തിയിരിക്കുകയാണ്. നേരത്തെ നമ്മളോട് സംവദിച്ചിരുന്നു. 2 മാസങ്ങൾക്ക് മുമ്പ് അവർ നമ്മളോട് സംവദിച്ചിരുന്നു. ഇനി തുടർന്നും എന്ത് സംഭവിക്കുന്നു? ഈ അടുത്ത ദിവസങ്ങളിലാണ് ഒരു ഭാരതീയൻ ഇസ്രായേലിൽ ഹിസ്ബുള്ള തീവ്രവാദികളുടെ ആക്രമണത്തിൽ കൊല്ലപ്പെട്ടത്. അവരുടെ വീട് സന്ദർശിക്കാനും കൂടിയാണ് ടാമി ഇപ്പോൾ കേരളത്തിലെത്തിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. നേരിട്ട് നമുക്ക് ചോദ്യങ്ങളിലേക്ക് കടക്കാം. ഗുഡ് ഈവനിങ് മാം ആൻഡ് വെൽക്കം.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
Okay, definitely I am coming to the direct issue that from the October 7 itself, the first attack of Hamas has happened in Israel, then till the issues are remaining, continuing. So what's the issue? What's the real problem that the tensions is being carried on and that all these tensions are being sustained? And what are the actions that the United Nations and national organizations have taken, but yet to seize the issue? So how to intervene? What is the issue at present? What's the present stature of conflict between Palestine and Israel and other Hezbollah, definitely Houthi issues? So could you explain all those things as a primer?
Yes, I will. And one, thank you very much for mentioning October 7th, because it's 154 days, 5 months that Israel is at war with the terrorist organization Hamas from Gaza, and also with other terrorist organizations that are trying to hit us while we're at war with Hamas. And you're right to ask the question. I'll just say very quickly what happened on October 7th. October 7th, Hamas, who is in control of Gaza, came out of Gaza, crossed the border into Israel, about 3,000 terrorists, and went on a massacre in Israel, in our towns and in our villages that are not far from the border with Gaza. They killed over 1,200 people. You know, they did horrible things to women, to girls, to families. They did, you know, they burned people alive. They cut arms and legs off. They brutalized. As I said, over 1,200 people. And in addition to what they did was they kidnapped 250 people back into Gaza. Since then, and the war going on, and Israel of course said, and we're still saying, we have to do everything we can to free these hostages, to free these kidnapped people. So about 2 months ago, a ceasefire was able to be negotiated, where almost half of these hostages came back to Israel, and Israel held up its end of the ceasefire agreement. We didn't shoot, we kept our forces out, and we gave up quite a few Hamas prisoners who were in jails in Israel. We gave them up in order to get these hostages back. Since then, the Egyptians, the United States, the United Arab Emirates, and many other people are trying to get another set of ceasefire or talks going in order to free the 134 hostages. And Israel has agreed to the terms. Israel has agreed to 6 weeks of ceasefire. Israel has agreed and is allowing all the time humanitarian assistance. Israel has agreed, I don't know the exact numbers, but we know we need to release more prisoners. And everybody was hoping, because tomorrow Ramadan starts, right? The holiest day of Muslims everywhere in the world. And if the Hamas terrorists, they claim that they're the keepers of Islam or follow the Islam, you know, they should be celebrating or honoring Ramadan. So the hopes was that Hamas will agree to this new plan. But not only are they not agreeing, they will not even release a list with the names of the hostages, not to talk about releasing the hostages or stopping their attempts to destroy Israel. Just this morning, and we will get to, just this morning, there were rockets fired into Israel, both from Gaza, from Hamas, and from the north. So we are still at war, to answer your question. And as you yourself said, international organizations, other countries are trying to figure out how to end this. Israel is cooperating. But the problem is we are dealing with terrorists.
Yes.
And Indians know this, you know, sadly, Indians know this as well. Terrorists want to harm all of us. They don't want countries to get along. They don't want to have economic ties between countries. They don't want us to live our lives. They want to terrorize us. So we're trying to deal with them. Other countries, organizations, we're all trying to deal with this horrible reality that they forced us into. We're trying to get out of it. But in order to get out of it or start getting out, we need to have our people back home. We need to have these 134 people, and yesterday was right International Women's Day. 19 of them are young women.
Yes.
You know, I don't want to imagine what they're going through. They need to be back home.
Okay, definitely you regarded about the situations of hostages there. What is the health conditions? What is the situation is there now they are facing? What is the health appraisement that you have done? What is the condition at present they are going through, and the physical and psychological issues are there? And definitely some crime may happen against them. I'm not sure, it may not be, that's our wish too. Did you regard about the status of that refugees in their custody?
For all these days, they don't let the International Red Cross in to see the hostages. They won't let any UN organization. Nobody knows where they are. We knew that these terrorists were building tunnels under Gaza, but there are 700 kilometers of tunnels. We didn't realize how deep they were, how advanced they were, you know, how equipped they are with, you know, to allow these terrorists to hide there. So the assumption is, of course, that they're hiding the hostages in these underground tunnels under their own population. So it'll be very hard to get to, right? They're using the Gazan population, the people of Gaza, to hide themselves and hide the hostages to make it harder for us to be able to find them and free them. So it's a horrible situation, but we have no idea. Nobody in the world except for Hamas has an idea about what these hostages, you know, where they are, how they're held, how they're doing. As you yourself correctly said, both their psychological well-being or not well-being and their physical. I can tell you that from the over 100 hostages who were released, the stories are, you know, awful and heartbreaking. We won't get into them, but anything from abuse to torture to being starved and not getting enough food and being kept in the dark and not being told anything. It's, you know, it's really, I don't know, it's horrendous, and we need to figure out, and again, I'm saying, you know, Israel, other countries, our friends, and not our friends also, international organizations understand that this must end, to end this suffering of these 134 hostages, but also for the betterment of the people, of the civilians, of the children and women in the Gaza Strip. It seems that we are all understanding this. Jordan, Egypt, the US, India, the world understands we want to end this. And again, the only player or the only group that's not, you know, doing the opposite is these Hamas terrorists. Not only did they start it, but they're continuing the suffering of their own people, of the people in the region. Not to talk about the trade routes now that are being, they need, you know, we need to somehow find a way to force them, and this is what our army is trying to do. The more we hurt them, the more we stop their capabilities, hopefully they will agree to release the hostages and bring this to an end.
Definitely this issue is being very much ferocious now, because it is being spread all over the country, different countries, it being an issue is risen by this issue, so that has been made by the Hamas and all. And some Hamas supporters are doing some hazardous things to the ships and Red Sea issue, such kind of things are there. And recently Hisbah attack has been happened. 2 days before that Hisbah attack, some days before it has happened, and you had been here to pay homage and to meet the family members of Noble Maxwell. So could you tell me what is the situation which led to the attack, and what is the casualty conditions? What happened to Maxwell?
Of course I'll get into it. I just want to be clear. Both Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon that shot the rockets that killed poor Mr. Tammy Ben Maxwell are funded and are supplied and are directed by the Iranian regime.
Yes.
The Iranian regime puts more than $1 billion a year in these terror organizations that surround Israel.
Yes.
They also train them, they teach them how to build missiles or give them the missiles. So they're proxies of this Iranian regime who has, and we spoke about it previously, not only the intent of destroying Israel, but they have a global, you know, they want to change the global balance. And we're seeing they're working now with the Houthis in Yemen, and through them harming international shipping routes. You know, we heard and saw, and very sadly, that some seafarers were killed by the Houthi attacks. But yeah, to go back, so we said we're dealing with the terrorist Hamas from Gaza, we're dealing with the terrorist Hezbollah. And Hezbollah, since Hamas began its attack. They understand that Israel is now involved, in trying to destroy Hamas and free the hostages. So they're trying to harm us by firing rockets at us from the north. Lebanon is on our north border, Hisbah is on our north border. And we have different systems to try to stop the rockets, and we stopped many of them, like the Iron Dome. But Monday, what happened, and by the way, there was another barrage right this morning on my way here. A few of the rockets went through, and very sadly, there were 3 Indian nationals. And as I said, Mr. Pat Niben Maxwell was killed by by the rocket, and 2 others were injured. One of the injured men is already out of hospital, and the second one is still in hospital. He's no longer in danger to his life, but we made sure that his wife would come, and all 3 of them are from Kerala, will come from Kerala. She's in Israel now to be with him in hospital and help him out and support him while he's going through the medical treatment he needs.
Okay. What kind of support that you can provide to the Maxwell? Just a humble question. You can answer if it's comfortable.
No, yeah. First and foremost, I want to say that the whole country of Israel and feels the tragic loss of this and feels sad about it. Him and the people who are with him and so many other people from India come to Israel to work. They live with us. They work with us. They help us out. And obviously terrorists don't care who they kill or who they hurt. But to have one of the people who are basically our guests who come to our country, to live, to enjoy, to earn a living, and have such a tragic end happen to such a young man. So first and foremost, I'm here to honor the family, honor his parents, his wife, his daughter, and his brothers, to come and tell them we're with you. Your pain is our pain, and we share it with you. And it's tragic that this is how it came. He came to better his life, and this is what happened. But of course, he's one of us now, which means that we will be there, and the state of Israel will be there with our national insurance.
Okay, thank you very much. As a Malayali also, I am very much extending my gratitude to you.
Thank you.
Hamas have a political wing and some parliamentary activities there, it was being told so. So is there any intervention of such political wings or political departments of the Hamas to seize the issue or to stop the issue or to amicably settle the issue between the two-state concept has been recognized by the Palestine and Israel also. So what kind of support that you are getting from the political wing of Hamas?
Hamas, look, if anybody had a thought that there's a division between the Hamas military wing and political wing, I think that the attack of October 7 and this war and just shows that it's not. And what do I mean? Since 2007, Israel left Gaza in 2005. And then the Palestinian Authority, President Mahmoud Abbas, the same people who are in charge of the Palestinian Authority came in. And Hamas had certain seats and, they were sharing, as you said, political wing, they were sharing some of the government responsibilities. And then in 2006, Hamas forcibly took over the government in Gaza. What do I mean forcibly? They went and threw political activists and politicians from the roofs. They shot the politicians' families in the knees or shot them up to scare them away. And this is what they did. So everybody who was part of the political process of the Palestinian Authority, let's say, or the Palestinian people, left Gaza. And basically since 2007, the Hamas terrorist organization is ruling Gaza. So they have a Ministry of Health. They have a Ministry of Education. They have, supposedly taking care of sanitation and water. But what we are seeing now, and if anybody needed proof, they're using everything for their terrorist purposes. They took the international money funding they got. They took the supplies they got from different countries, even the supplies from the UN, and they used it to build tunnels. Their education system did not educate the children to learn math or science or English like we do in India and Israel to become engineers. It gave them minimal education and especially taught them to hate Israel and to hate Jews. They had summer camps for kids where they have them holding Kalashnikovim and yelling death to Israel. This is not an education. This is making the next generation of terrorists. So it's right to say that they were the government, but it wasn't a government. Everything was being used for their terrorist purposes, for their goal, which they keep saying that this is still their goal, to do October 7th again and to destroy us. And so even now they're using their people. War is very, very difficult, and civilians have died on both sides. And people in Gaza have been displaced, but also people in Israel have been displaced. But these Hamas, who's supposed to be the government, right? And the government is supposed to protect you. Look what our government is doing and our army is doing in order to try to get these hostages out. Hamas doesn't care. Tomorrow starts Ramadan. These people are believers. They want to be able to celebrate and to honor this month like it's supposed to, and Hamas is not letting them. So there is no political wing or military wing. It's a terrorist organization, and everything that it's doing, even if it's trying to use a name or a cover, all they're doing, and they're proving it again and again, is they don't care who dies, they don't care who suffers, not just in Israel, also in Gaza itself. So it's very clear that this Hamas, this terror organization, must be destroyed. And then we can talk about having a government or a political wing or somebody to rule over Gaza. Figure out how to make the lives of the people there better.
Okay, definitely more threats you are facing, your country is facing. Definitely the Hisbah attack has been discussed earlier. Houthi is there, and Golan Heights, such kind of reactions are happening there. You are surrounded by the threats and surrounded by terrorists. How your morale is being retained? How the morale of the Israelis are being retained in this stringent condition?
One, it's being retained because we don't have a choice. At some point when somebody says they want to kill you, you better believe them. And if people didn't believe it so far, I think October 7th and this war shows that this is what they intend to do. So we know we're fighting this war for our survival. We know we will win it. It will be hopefully as soon as possible, but we have to win this war because we have no other choice, because this is the only place we have to live. We're a tiny country, a tiny people, and this has been our homes for millennia. So we have to win this war. But also I think in some mind, and I think more and more countries are realizing this. As I said, we're fighting for our survival. We're fighting to continue our lives against the terrorists. But these terrorists are not limited just to our area or to Israel. These terrorists have the bigger plan of taking over the world. And if you either join them and become like them, or they'll kill you. So Israel needs to be, we're the canary in the coal mine, or we're maybe the first step to remind the rest of the world we must stand strong against these terrorism. We must finish them, we must destroy them, because it's not only the lives of the people living in Israel who will either not exist or be harmed, it's everybody. They will not stop just with us. So I think also the fact that we're sending this message and we're saying it, and we have strong friends and supporters, definitely India is one of the main supporters of the United States, but you even see our neighbors, in the region trying to help to end this thing, working in a very responsible, intelligent way to try to end this thing. So that gives us support as well.
Definitely. Now you have referred our country also. What kind of support that you are getting? And definitely you told me that India is supporting you, India is very much supporting you, and our Prime Minister visited you, your Prime Minister visited here. A lot of diplomatic activities are happening. So being a good friend of Israel, being a good friend of India too, so do you feel it is we are supporting you, we are giving more support and emotional support to you in this crisis situation? Are you sure that we are getting it, we are providing it to you properly?
I think the emotional support, or the general support, yes. I have to say I feel it personally. Again, not everybody is 100%, but you feel it from the government. We see it. The statements that are very, very clear about standing up against terrorism and not letting terrorism win are very important. And I don't believe that friends need to agree on everything all the time. But as long as you basically support me and I know that you are there for me at a crisis, of course we can have disagreements, which is a fine thing. But India has shown again, very responsibly. On the one hand, we have such good ties on so many different levels, and they're continuing. And even the Air India flights were resumed last week. It just goes to show how we're, continuing with all the good ties and doing that. And on the other hand, India has also offered both medical and humanitarian support to the people of Gaza, which of course India wants to do, we want to do, the international organizations and other countries want to do. We're to support the people in Gaza, which is correct. We all want these people, as hard as war is, we all want them to be in a good place as possible. The only ones who don't want it, the only people who want them to suffer, the only ones who want to show horrible pictures out of Gaza are the terrorists. We're all united in trying to make these people suffer as less as possible, except for the terrorists. So we definitely, are going hand in hand, and India also, by the way, is anyway patrolling the Red Sea in a usual manner, right? The Indian Navy. And now there's the international coalition against the Houthis as well, led by Britain and the US and many other countries. So again, on that front as well, India is working with like-minded countries who understand the importance of having free international shipping routes, of being allowed to continue economic relationships and trade between countries. So yeah, so we definitely feel the support.
Definitely India, for the last 10 years, India has been very much strong in the stand that anti-terrorist regime, to strengthen the anti-terrorist regime. And definitely you are engaged, and you are, both of us were engaged in the anti-terrorist and strengthening the anti-terrorist regime. Especially recently that you have referred now, INS Kolkata had taken some initiative to rescue the Houthi attacked ships, Houthi drone attack ships in the Red Sea. Such kind of steps, do you feel it is a positive step or a positive sign to the world against this anti-terrorist or inclusion of anti-terrorist regime to the entire world?
We hope so, because these terrorists, and again, Houthis as well, they're funded by the Iranian regime who wants to destroy the world structure. The Iranian regime, every time it sees, definitely, the G20 announcement by Prime Minister Modi, and the corridor, the IMEC corridor, and seeing countries in the Gulf countries and India, being able to ship a corridor into Europe and the US, and sees everybody coming together, that's to their detriment. This is not what they want. They want havoc, they want war. They're making a lot of money out of the war, right? Out of shipping weapons and training and other things that they're smuggling. So it's not a coincidence that the whole thing started, one of the reasons, perhaps so close to the announcement at the end of the G20 summit of the world leaders. So of course, we have to keep sending a message that we're standing united. We're not asking anybody to come and fight our war for us, or come into Gaza or come into Israel to fight the war. Israel will do that on its own. But we need the support of the coalition, of the anti-terror coalition, of the countries and governments who care for their people and understand that now is the time to be very, very clear that we will not allow this terrorist acts and these attacks to continue. We have to put a stop to it. As I said before, we are also fighting for our lives, but we're fighting for the bigger message also, that terrorism has no place in modern, like-minded, forward-looking societies.
Okay, terrorism should be avoided, should be rooted out from the world. That is the mission of Narendra Modi too, and our Prime Minister too. So definitely it is coming to the reality. While it is coming to the reality, do you feel it is a level of engagement against this anti-terrorist activity and strengthening the anti-terrorist regime? Do you feel our steps, Indian steps, definitely correlated with Israel or many other countries, in G20, we have special stress on this thing. And this anti-terrorist regime point, what is the basic point of the relation between the international countries, with India and South Asia or whatever it may be? So do you expect that the terrorism can be, I can tell you that the truth is there, but the truth is not yet realized properly. And definitely there are a few hostages issue and all those issues are there. So do you feel the peace will come back with the strengthening of anti-terrorist regime? Do you feel so, or do you have hope on that?
Of course, you talked about our morale before. If we don't have the hope that peace will come, or that quiet and security at least, okay, will come soon, then that will start being the crumbling of the morale. We must believe, and we know, our army is strong, our people are strong. We're fighting for the right reasons. We're fighting to free our hostages. We're fighting not to take over anything. We're just fighting to go back to the way things were on October 6th, to go back to within our borders and to have our children, our women, our people live securely within our own borders. This is what we want. So, so we must believe that the right will prevail and that the people who are striving for peace and quiet will prevail. And again, I do think that the international coalition is sending a right message and working on this as well. And also, it's not just the right message to send, it's a practical message, because international shipping routes must be open to all. This is one of the main bases of all our international organizations and international agreement, is to allow for the free movement within waters and within international routes. So we must all work together for that.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you very much for the great information that you have shared with us. Definitely, we have a lot of things that sadness is happening and all those things happening. So we have such kind of things will happen, and the sun will rise and light will come. Thank you very much.
We hope, yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
തീർച്ചയായും അന്താരാഷ്ട്ര ബന്ധങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നല്ല മനുഷ്യബന്ധങ്ങളിൽ എവിടെയും തീവ്രവാദത്തിന് സ്ഥാനമില്ല എന്ന് തന്നെ ടാമി പറഞ്ഞു വെക്കുന്നു. കൃത്യമാണ് ആ മറുപടി. ഭാരതത്തിന്റെ തീവ്രവാദ വിരുദ്ധ സഖ്യത്തിന് ഒരു അംഗീകാരം കൂടിയാണ്. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച് മാഡം.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the time.